Here's the thing most people feel, but rarely see laid out cleanly. In 1971, about 61% of Americans lived in middle-class households. By 2023, that number had fallen to 51%. The lower income share rose from 27% to 30%. The upper income share jumped from 11% to 19%. That is the core Pew Research finding. The middle is smaller. The sides are bigger. This is not a sudden crash. It is a slow, quiet shift that has been running for more than 50 years. Pew Research Center defines it simply: people living in households with incomes between 2/3 and twice the national median, after adjusting for household size. Roughly the middle of the income distribution, not the official poverty line, not the top 10%, just the broad middle that used to be the default American experience. That share has steadily contracted. At the same time, the share of total U.S. household income going to the middle class has dropped sharply. In 1970, middle-income households received 62% of aggregate household income. By 2022, that figure had fallen to 43%. The upper income share rose from 29% to 48% over the same period. More of the income pie has moved to the top. Some researchers, including work from the American Enterprise Institute, argue the middle is not dying so much as moving up. When you hold the income thresholds fixed in real dollars instead of letting them float with the median, a large slice of families has graduated into the upper middle class. The ranks below the middle have also thinned in absolute terms. On this reading, the old middle class is smaller because many people became richer. Both readings can be true at once. The statistical middle is smaller. A meaningful number of families did move higher. And yet millions of households that sit in the numerical middle feel squeezed in ways their parents did not. The biggest pressure is not that wages stopped rising completely. Real incomes for middle households did grow over decades. The problem is that the costs of the things that define a middle-class life rose faster. Housing is the clearest example. In many high-cost metro areas, home prices and rents have risen much faster than local incomes, making homeownership increasingly difficult for middle-income households. The single-family home that once anchored middle-class security is now out of reach for large numbers of people who earn solid middle incomes. Healthcare is next. Family premiums and out-of-pocket costs have climbed steadily. Even with insurance, a major medical event can create thousands of dollars in unexpected costs and seriously damage a household's savings. Education follows the same pattern. College tuition has risen dramatically in real terms. Student debt has become a common financial burden for millions of Americans, particularly younger households. In expensive cities, full-time childcare can rival a second rent or mortgage payment. These are not luxury items. They are the basic infrastructure of a stable middle-class life. At the same time, productivity rose substantially over the decades, but the gains were not distributed evenly. Compensation for typical workers grew much more slowly than overall productivity, while a larger share of national income accrued to higher-income households and capital owners. Manufacturing and other middle-skill, middle-wage jobs that once supported families without a college degree declined as a share of employment. Automation, trade, especially the China shock of the 2000s, and the shift toward services all played roles. The result was a degree of job polarization, growth at the high-skill, high-pay end and at the low-skill, low-pay end, with many middle-skill occupations under pressure. You can still find solid middle-income jobs. They just require different credentials, different locations, or two earners working full-time just to stay in place. The single-earner job that could support a family, buy a house, and provide a path to retirement security became much less common. Unions, which once compressed wages and delivered benefits for large numbers of non-college workers, also declined. That weakened one of the institutions that had historically helped middle and lower wage workers bargain for higher pay and better benefits. The financial stress shows up in surveys. In 2023, only about half of American adults said they had enough emergency savings to cover 3 months of expenses. A substantial minority could not cover an unexpected $500 expense from savings alone. People earning what used to be solid middle-class money say they cannot comfortably afford the same package their parents had: a house in a decent school district, reliable healthcare without the fear that one medical crisis could destroy their finances, the ability to save, and the expectation that their children will do at least as well. Many are one layoff, one medical bill, or one rent increase away from sliding. Wealth is more concentrated at the top. Younger Americans have generally faced a harder path into homeownership, particularly in high-cost markets. This is why the phrase "quietly disappearing" sticks. It is not that the middle class vanished overnight in a depression. It is that the economic structure that produced a large, secure middle has been eroding for decades, while the costs of participating in it kept rising. The United States still has high absolute living standards by global and historical measures. Many people are better off in material terms than their grandparents, but the relative position of the broad middle has weakened. Income and wealth gaps have widened. Geographic sorting has intensified. High-opportunity metro areas became expensive, while many former industrial regions lost the middle-rung jobs that once held communities together. The result is a society that feels more polarized, not only politically but economically. A thinner middle means less of a buffer between the top and the bottom. It also means more people experience economic life as precarious, even when the official numbers say they are middle class. The data is clear on the share. The feeling of squeeze is widespread. The evidence points to a combination of long-running structural forces: slower wage growth for the typical worker relative to productivity, rising costs of housing, healthcare, and education, and the disappearance of many middle-skill jobs that once required only a high school education. That is the quiet disappearance. Not a sudden collapse, but a decades-long shift in who gets the gains from growth and how expensive it has become to live a stable, middle-class life in America. Thanks for watching.